Tom, just talk about, you travel about 5 months out of the year talking to kids throughout the country. Kind of talk about the next year's class, the 2012 class.
I think the 2012 class is going to be special. 2011 was good, 2010 was good, but I think the 2012 class is going to be outstanding. I've already done a lot of preliminary work, bringing the 500 of them down to San Antonio. I've been to a couple of camps already. I've been traveling in November. I saw some big-time players, a great quarterback, Jameis Winston in Alabama. So I've got that state out of the way, but I've also did a lot of preliminary work nationally, and I'll be heading into Texas. I think Texas was a super down year for the class of 2011. It looked one of the worst years I've seen in 10 years. And then now you jump ahead 1 year, and it looks like it's going to be a great year. You got some guys like Mario Edwards, Jonathan Gray, Derek David, some outstanding talent in the state of Texas at almost every single position. So that state's going to be good, which will be good then for Arkansas, because Arkansas obviously is a neighboring state. And Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, there'll be people trying to come in and steal guys away from Texas, particularly that they appear to be vulnerable right now since they're a 5-7 record and losing a lot of coaches. So it looks like they don't have that normal jump on the top prospects in the state of Texas that they usually do, and they get most of them committed 2 weeks after signing day. They may not happen this year because they're right now putting together a staff.
You've been doing this for over 30 years. What's changed in the recruiting process? I know you've seen a lot of changes, but what are some of the main ones you've seen over the last 30 years?
I think what's changed is that there's so many people in the business. Back then, I was the only one in it, so it was good. Now you got internet sites. Some schools have 5, 6, 7 internet sites just covering one school, and it's the kids are deluged with people calling up asking for information, trying to get stuff out of them. So, but the information age right now, and I think there's very few players that go unnoticed. Maybe 30 years ago, when I started 31 years ago, there are probably some players you could find that went unnoticed because a lot of people didn't know about them. And they couldn't find out about them. Everything was regional. Now everything's so national. With USA Today coming into existence in 1982 and ESPN during the 80s, the world's brought a lot closer. And then with the advent of the internet in the 90s, I think things really took off, and they haven't stopped since. So it's the age of information, and ball players now find it a much easier time. And for that matter, then you got other people that are taking advantage of them, trying to bring them. They try to get ball players to come to 20, 30, 40, 50 combines, and they're making money off the ball players. And so the players have to be very careful. I think if you're already getting offers, you don't have to do anything. You could just sit home and collect the offers. If you want people to notice you, probably the best combines to go to are the colleges. Like here in Arkansas, they'll have a one-day camp, a prospect camp. If you want to get offered, you go to those camps. If you want to just have fun and maybe smooth out your ego a little bit, you go to the combines where colleges aren't allowed to be at. But you really have to be careful because ball players can get tired. And if you go to combine after combine, you may not be at your best when the ones that actually matter, which are the college combines, start.
When you travel throughout the country, obviously you're seeing kids. Kind of every kid that you write about, you've seen. Talk about the advantage of that.
Well, one of the internet said, well, Tom Lemming's old school, and I took it as a compliment because I try to do what the NFL people do. You want to see the people in person, and immediately I'll take mental notes when I see them. If they're the size they say they are, and you talk to them, and you sit down and you talk to them, you can get more of an idea of their desire of what kind of how they perceive football and how it's going to either help them maybe get an education or maybe even go forward to be NFL ball players someday. Ball players, a lot of them have different temperaments and personalities, and a lot of them maybe are not suited to really progress too far in football. So you really have to see that by sitting down, looking at them in the eye and talking to them a little bit. But also the key is watching them on film. I can go to 1 million combines and you cannot tell if they're good football players. Combines now are more for the people that are running them to make money, and I like the combines that develop players, both mentally and physically. But the combines, a lot of times, that are just having guys run 40s and stuff, it's really for them to make money, and not really to tell if the ball player is a great football player. Because if you're running in shorts around orange cones, that can't tell you if you could diagnose plays quickly or if you're an aggressive ball player with great speed. They have their own. I think combines have their own positives, but the fact is, watching film and then sitting down and talking to the ball players, that's what the NFL scouts do, and I'll take my cue from them.
I know it's early, but kind of talk about the 2012 class in Arkansas.
It doesn't look as good as the 2011 class, but I know I'll be seeing Zach Brooks, the defensive back from Jonesboro, and I'm just heading down to Warren to go see Jalen Cobb. Those are two ball players that are getting the most attention. But it looks like it's going to be a very good junior class in Arkansas. And the senior class, though, looks like there's some players that are suspects that could be offered by Arkansas down the line, but I'm sure they have to prove themselves. And a key, again, what we talked to previously, was for them to go to Arkansas's one-day camp, show off their wares, and let Arkansas see that they are good athletes. And Arkansas probably has to sit back and evaluate their film, because they're not going to, scholarships are not given out freely. They have to be earned, and I think they got to watch the ball players, and the college coaches in Arkansas would like to go see these ball players actually play ball, and then again sit down with them when they take their unofficial visits to campus and find out where their heart is and what kind of desire they have to move on to the college ball.
I know you've been impressed with Coach Petrino and his coaching staff, recruiting coordinator Tim Horton. Kind of talk about what your impressions are on their recruiting efforts.
Well, fantastic. And Houston Nutt, I thought, was a great coach, but I don't think he expanded his recruiting the way he should have, particularly being in the Southeast Conference, the most aggressive and the hardest working staffs in the country, really, when you talk about recruiting. These people are really aggressive. They weren't aggressive until Petrino got there. Tim Horton's done a great job of expanding their recruiting into Texas and around the whole Southeast and good parts of the country when they're looking at specific players. So now they become a national recruiting team, which they had never been in the 31 years I've been doing this. You can honestly say that Arkansas is a national team, and that's the reason why I think they could become a perennial BCS contender right now, because of that. There's good talent in Arkansas, but for them to win on a consistent basis, they also have to recruit out of state, and that's what they're doing. And I think it's about time, really. And I think Coach Petrino realized that. Being at Louisville, we didn't really have, you had a good town of Louisville, but the super players a lot of times would go elsewhere. He had to recruit throughout the country to get top players to go to Louisville, and he did a very good job evaluating them and finding kids that maybe the big schools overlooked, but